Chapter 3, Part 38. It has been related by some that the final overthrow of the rule of the Seljuki dynasty in Asia Minor in Al-Hijra 700 or about 1300 of the Bulgar era was in this manner. The Sultan Ruknuddin had adopted Jalal as his spiritual father. After a while, he held a great dervish festival in the palace. But about that period, a certain Sheikh Baba had created for himself a great name in Konya, and certain intriguers had led the king to visit him. It was shortly after that visit that the king held the revival in honor of Baba in the Hall of the Bulls. The Sheikh was met and introduced in state by the court officials, and was then installed on the throne, with the Sultan seated on a chair by his side. Jalal now made his appearance, saluted, and took his seat in a corner of the hall. Portions of the Quran were recited, and exhortations were delivered with hymns. The Sultan then turned to Jalal and spoke, "Be it known to the Lord Jalal, to the doctors of the law, and to the grandees, that I have adopted the Sheikh Baba as my spiritual father, who has accepted me as his dutiful and affectionate son." All present shouted their approval and prayed for a blessing on the arrangement, but Jalal, burning with divine jealousy, instantly exclaimed, in words traditionally related of the Prophet Muhammad, "Verily, Sa'ad is a jealous man, but I am more jealous than Sa'ad, and God is still more jealous than I am." To this he further added, "Since the Sultan has made the Sheikh his father, we will make some other our son." So saying, he gave his usual religious shout of ecstasy and stalked out from the assembly. The Samuddin related that he saw the Sultan. When Jalal thus quitted the presence, turned pale as though shot with an arrow. The grandees ran to stop Jalal, but he would not return. A few days afterwards, the officers of the state adopted the resolution to invite the Sultan to go to another city, that they might take measures to get rid of Sheikh Baba. The Sultan now went to consult Jalal and asked for his blessing before setting out. Jalal advised him not to go. The matter had, however, been officially promulgated, and there was no possibility to alter arrangements. On arriving at the other town, the Sultan was conducted to a private apartment and forthwith strangled with a bowstring. Ere his breath failed, he invoked the name of Jalal. Maybe he just mentioned him, I don't know. At that moment, Jalal was at his college, lost to consciousness in the enthusiasm of a musical service. Suddenly, he put his two forefingers into his two ears and ordered the trumpets and chorus to join in. He then shouted vociferously and recited aloud two of his own odes, of which one commences thus: "My words were, go not, I'm thy friend. The world is rife with threats of dire destruction. I'm the fount of life." When the service was over, the disciples requested Jalal's son, Sultan Beled, to inquire of his father what all this might signify. In reply, he merely put off his cloak and said aloud, "Let us perform the service for the burial of the dead." He acted as presenter in the service, and all present joined in. Then, without waiting for his son to put any question, he addressed the assembly, saying, "Yea, Bahauddin and my friends, they have strangled the poor Sultan Ruknuddin. In his agony he called on me and shrieked. God had so ordained. I did not wish his voice to ring in my ears and interrupt my devotions. He will fare better in the other world." There's a serious anachronism in the foregoing account. Sultan Ruknuddin, whose name was Suleiman, son of K. Khusrau, was put to death by order of the Mughal Emperor Abaka Khan in Al-Hijra 664 or 1265 of the Bulgar era, 36 years before the final extinction of the dynasty by order of Khazan Khan, between Abaka and whom no less than 4 emperors reigned. Besides this, Jalal himself died and Al-Hijra 672, or 1273 of the Common Era. 27 years before the last of the Seljuki sovereigns. Kubad, son of Faramurs, son of Kawus, was slaughtered together with all living members of the race. Historians differ much respecting the names and order of succession of the last sovereigns of the dynasty, and the present anecdote shows how confused it become. On the spot, the legend of these puppets. Ruknuddin caused his own brother to be poisoned, as he had become jealous of the favor shown to that brother by the Mughal emperor. His own death was the reward of that act. One of the things we find with some of these political figures, right, is this thing where you have their yeah, sure, it's a talk of the town and all this other stuff, but if they don't have this legacy of philosophy or good deeds or something like that, something more lasting than their physical power, the details of their life do get muddled. Their names get forgotten in history. Were some very great kings in the past that we know they were great. We just don't know who they are, and everything's erased. And people didn't like them to the point where they, scratched out their tombs, well, the inscriptions or something.